Good morning, everybody. It's the pollinator. And wow, I can't even. I'm going to try the best that I can to describe what happened this weekend in my landmark forum that I have not participated in over 2 decades, almost 2.5 decades. Before I get started, though, there are some people who are seeing my videos for the first time. If you want to see future videos from me, you have to subscribe, and then you have to click this bell that you'll see when you're watching the vlogs. That way you'll be notified every time I do an upload of a video. So, oh my goodness. So I just spent 3 days and last night completing my forum in the most transformational work that I know of to date. And you know, so much happens, so much is compacted into those days and nights that is really, really difficult to explain what exactly goes on in there. And we do have to sign a confidentiality agreement not to discuss, other people's stuff in there. So I'm just going to have to talk from my own experience and what has happened to me and what I went in there to do. I actually don't remember exactly what I wrote down on the forms that said what breakthroughs I wanted to have, which areas of my life I wanted to have breakthroughs in. But I'm fairly sure. No, I'm not even sure. I do know one thing. The few days before it started, I wanted to have a breakthrough with the conversation that I was having in my head around being transgender in that environment. While I did not attack that, I did not address that, I did not disclose, I did not come out during that forum. I'm most definitely going to do so in the advanced course. But so let me tell you a little bit about this technology, just a little bit before I get into what happened with me. It's breakthrough technology based on the ontology, the being of human beings. And folks, look, we have these areas in our life that are complete and total blind spots to ourselves, and which is one of the reasons why I wanted to do it again, because I knew there was things that were still missing, that I was stuck in a pattern of anger about everything going on in the world, about everything going on in my personal life, things that I was trying to accomplish that I was just not getting cooperation. I was not enrolling people into my vision, be it about my book, be it about my business, be it about whatever. I was feeling disempowered, disenfranchised, just not. I would feel that way, and then I would be mad that I felt that way. So, but I did not know why. And so we have there's two things in human beings, and I don't care who you are and where you are on the planet. There's two things that you know. There's things that you do know, areas in your life that you're proficient at, areas of your life that you know like the back of your hand, okay? That you actually know. Then there's things that you know that you don't know. You know, I don't, one of my childhood dreams was to become a pilot. That wasn't even childhood. That was during my teenage years, I think. I'm not exactly sure when that came up, but I wanted to be a pilot. My mom said no. I was very risky. I loved doing things that were risky, and I just couldn't, you know. My mom she loved to watch planes taking off and landing, and so she would drive us to the airport, and we would sit at the end of the runway outside of the fence and watch planes take off and land. And boy, did I want to do that. I wanted to be a pilot. Another thing that I wanted to be was an attorney. And then a couple of other things. One of them was a computer professional, and another one was an architect. I took a class in junior high school, and somehow that sparked, I mean, all it was I think, a wood shop class where you make things out of wood. And I made a ship with mast and all that other stuff. And I wanted to be an architect because I like to draw lines. I can't draw like freeform. I can't draw people. I can't draw anything like that, but I was very good at drawing lines and triangles and weird little shapes like that. I did a little bit of calligraphy. Okay, so I know that I don't know how to fly a plane. I know that I don't know how to fly a plane. I know a lot of things that I know I don't know how to do. So that's the two areas that human beings are very proficient at, that we actually know. We either know or we know that we don't know how to do them. Well, the forum and all of that work exists inside of what we don't know that we do not know. Okay? We just don't even, it's a blind spot. We don't know it. We don't know that we don't know it. And the conversations that they have inside of that seminar exposes those areas that you don't know that you don't know. And if you knew them, you would be empowered to do whatever. So one of the things that happened, I ended up, okay. So I figured out that one of the blind spots that got uncovered this weekend was that I have been operating in a fight or flight mode ever since I was 10 years old. Ever since what happened, all that happened was when we moved. We moved from one place to another place inside of my hometown. And because of the circumstances that happened after that move, pretty quickly after that move, my first day at school, which I think I explained in another vlog about showing up in that class, and probably most of those people had never seen a black person in person before. That was a strange thing. But then what I really got in touch with was this story that I didn't completely tell it during that seminar, but it was just me standing at the mic with the forum leader talking about walking down the street one day not long after I moved there, walking down the street one day, and a lady saw me coming and grabbed her child and ran in the house and locked the door, all the latches on the door and the windows and everything, and start looking out the curtains. And I decided I did not belong. Then when I got to the edge of the street, and this is the part I didn't say in the seminar, was when I got to the end of that street, because I noticed what happened and I felt some kind of way about it, and I made it mean something. And then I walked to the edge of the street and was going to turn a corner, and a car full of children and parents drove past and rolled down the windows and started yelling racial slurs at me. And although I didn't tell my mom, I didn't tell my parents what happened, I most definitely I made that mean game on. I couldn't run from it. There was no flight about that. But there was a whole lot of anger about that I had inside, and subsequent events that happened in that neighborhood. Not only in that neighborhood, but the neighborhood we have moved from. A lot of things happened. So I became a fighter. And then as I grew up, I guess some rational part of my head, I don't even know, but somehow I made a decision that if I couldn't fight you about it, then I'd run from it. Or I'd do both. But it had me stuck in a pattern all of my life where, especially when it came to relationships, it boiled down to fight or flight. And most of the time, when it came to friendships, when it came to family, when it came to intimate partners, my default mode was to the flight part, run. And if I couldn't run, then I would stand and fight inside of those relationships and make everybody wrong. Okay? That is a human condition also that every single person on the planet lives with going on in their head. They're either going to make something right or they're going to make it wrong. And for the most part, I made everything wrong, you know, and I would find people who agreed with me that XYZ was wrong, or he was wrong, or she was wrong. And I would get validated that that's what should have happened out of that, whatever occurred. That is what I should make it mean. That is what I enrolled people to make it mean. I even enrolled my therapist into making certain people in my life wrong, 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 wrong. And it doesn't stop there. As I sit here tonight and I'm sitting here talking about this, I realized that shit, I'm just not making people I know wrong. I make people I don't know wrong. And I make the planet wrong. I'm making this country wrong. I'm making this world wrong. I'm making everything that's going on in it wrong. Now, listen, it's not that making things wrong is wrong, or making things right is right. It's when it robs you of possibility, hope, standing in a place that is separate from that story, the stories we make up around what happened, when it disempowers you, when it leaves you with no power at all. That's when people aren't really being authentic when that happens. Not getting authentic about their part in it, not getting authentic about who they were in the matter of contributing to the problems and not standing in the solutions. So yeah, I got freed up from living my life in the right wrong mode, robbing myself of peace, robbing myself of affinity, robbing myself of possibilities, robbing myself of all things that have made me an awesome human being. Because I used to live in that place for a short period of time. But I lived in that place and I learned all of those things 24 years ago. And then I forgot. Life happens. Breakdowns happen. I have to continuously live in that place of possibility. And when I get on it about something, stand in a different place so that I can get off it really, really fast. Because if I don't, then I'm just going to be sitting there mad. See, I'm wanting to fight or flight or run. I had a conversation with someone about how I've got quite a few pairs of running shoes in there. And it's not because I like collecting shoes. In fact, I don't collect shoes. I've only got about 7 or 8 pairs in there over a long period of time. But I will put those shoes on and run as fast as I can away from anything that reminds me of what happened in my childhood. I didn't know that I didn't know that. I didn't even realize I was still connected to my past that way. Because that was not revealed to me or uncovered to me when I did this work the first time. It caused breakthroughs in other areas of my life, but it just didn't touch that part. So, but what really happened, the real breakthrough that happened this weekend was that on Saturday, when I got up and I shared, and I told everybody that I had a resentment about that business because of something that was going on, something that happened shortly before my mother passed away. And because of what happened and what I made it mean, well, I made it mean. They didn't give a crap about me and what I was going through around my mom. Now, some people listening to this, and because people's listening is particularly geared to the right, wrong thing, I'm not going to exactly say what happened because, you know, everybody will agree to some extent that I was justified to do what I did and feel the way that I did and detach myself from that business. But here's the thing. When I told those stories, there were 137 participants in this forum. And while I was talking, I was shaking like a leaf. When I was standing there, before I started talking, I was shaking like a leaf. I didn't particularly know why, because it's not like I'm not a public speaker and haven't been trained to, you know, stand in front of a mic and speak. I had no idea what that was until last night. That all that shaking that was going on was rage. Absolute rage. Not only about what happened 25 years ago, but also what happened in my childhood. And all of it collapsed together. In other words, what happened and the story I said about what happened collapsed. It collapsed so much that what happened 50 years ago is something similar to what happened 25 years ago. You understand? And then all of that together left me with feeling disempowered in those particular kinds of situations. And all I could do was fall back and default on being angry or running. First I got angry, then I ran. So I'm telling you, I do both. I do both. So I'm in this conversation with this forum leader, and all I could see was him. I didn't see anybody else. I didn't see anybody else in that room. I had no idea anybody else even existed because I was so present to my rage and to what I was saying to him, and the fact that I felt like I wanted to faint. I mean, I was so... I was just so confused and so angry and so enraged about everything that had been going on all my life that all I could see was that guy. And he was talking to me, and I can't even remember exactly what was said. I mean, they're very trained at what they do, and I can't even remember what happened. Except, at one point, he jumped off the stage, grabbed my arm, and pulled me halfway down one of the aisles. And then stopped. And he said to me, be with people. Be with people. See, he knew I used to be a speaker for that business. He could do that with me. He may not have been able to do that with anybody else in that room, but he knew to do it with me. He just recognized that I had detached from being with people, from seeing the real impact that I had in that room. And when I looked around, I have no idea how many people were moved, but half of that room was crying. I was crying. The forum leader was crying. Actually, I don't know if he was crying, but after I finished looking around the room and I was just standing in that space of reconnecting with people on a very, very personal, intimate level, standing there feeling like I didn't have any clothes on, but then neither did they. Okay, I mean, we were just one. Didn't see color. I didn't see race. I didn't see ethnicity. I didn't see nothing. All I saw was love. And when he looked back at me, he looked me dead in my eyes, and with tears in his eyes, he made a formal apology for what happened to me 25 years ago surrounding that business and my mother. And I was stunned. Because of connecting with everybody in there and seeing all the love in the room, everything that I had been feeling for not only 25 years, but for 50 years just fell off. It just disappeared. It just went away. In that moment, all I could do was stand there and look at him and tell him, absolutely, I forgive you. And this man was literally crying. And so was everybody else in the room. And I started to explain something, and I had talked to a man 2 days before that about wanting to be free and about being willing to die for my freedom. And that I was actually more afraid of dying for that than I could hold that all the time, 24 hours a day, hold on to that without getting afraid and changing my mind and then recommitting to it and then changing my mind and recommitting to it and changing my mind like that. So I looked for him because he was sitting right in that row that I stopped in front of. And when I looked, he wasn't there. He wasn't sitting in his chair. And for about 1 second, I felt disappointed because I wanted to acknowledge that man. And he was standing up in the back. He had stood up because I guess his legs were tired or sleep or whatever. But he was standing in the back and he called me out. He called my name out. I'm here. I'm here. So I spoke to him. I don't even remember what I said. All I know is that from that moment forward, I had reconnected with humanity. And for someone like me who is doing something similar when I'm making these vlogs, I don't always feel connected to you all when I'm making them. I'm making them for me. I'm also making them to put out information, to, I don't know, stir up awarenesses about what's going on in this country, about what's going on in my life, what's going on around racism, what's going on around transphobia, what's going on around homophobia, what's going on, just what's going on. I share from that place. I wasn't sharing with a deep affinity for humanity. In fact, I was starting to hate everybody and everything. When I sat down, there was a woman sitting on my left, and she held her hand out, and I grabbed her hand, and she just held my hand. I didn't get a moment's rest from that the rest of this time. In fact, people kept coming to me, and telling me how I made their form for them, that I caused a breakthrough for them, which I was trained to do a long time ago, but I had no idea that I had done it then. I went to do the form for guess who? Me. Me. I went in there to do that for myself. And while, you know what, there's nothing wrong with that. Whoa. There's nothing wrong with going and doing a seminar like that for yourself. Because what will end up happening is going to affect more than yourself anyway. You don't even have a choice in the matter. It's going to touch somebody. You're going to say something that resonates with somebody else in there. It's just going to happen that way. You can go in there for you, and you end up making lots of friends, and there's just lots of love, and there's lots of bonding and like that. But I had no idea that I touched as many people as I did, who kept coming up to me during the breaks and letting me know how much they appreciated the depth of which I shared. And one guy in particular said, for a couple days there, all I saw was tenseness and confusion and anger and all of this stuff. And, oh my God, you look completely different today. I feel different, man. I feel different. And I feel a lot of peace. Now, that's not to say that breakdowns won't occur. The minute I get on Fuckerbook, you get all the crap that's going on and all the stories that people are making up about what's going on, and you get all that all up in your face, right? I do have to make somewhat of a choice in how I deal with that, how much I'm willing to deal with that on that platform. I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do with it yet, but the point being that life continues to go on, and when the possibility is standing in the space of nothingness from that seminar, it's not going to be easy. But all I got to do, and all of us have to do that were there, is to keep remembering the breakthroughs that we had in there and how to stand back in the possibility of healing humanity. It's not a fix-it program. It is not therapy. It is not anything other than what it is, which is it's a different conversation. Using language, using English, but using it in a completely different way than people are accustomed to it being used. In fact, he was, making a joke, I think on Saturday. I think it was Saturday or Sunday, to, please don't try to go out and be talking Formanese. He called it Formanese, something like that. Because there is a specific language that they speak in there that is very different than what people understand. And if you start talking and using the words that we learned in there, you'll end up having to explain the words and just completely lose being authentic and sharing with people. And might even start trying to use it on people instead of standing in the place of having it use you, having it use me. If I get stuck trying to explain what the racket is and what all these other things that come up in there, I'll eventually start turning that shit on you instead of letting it work me. So it did exactly what I wanted it to do. I had conversations with my father, who I vowed to not speak to until I got my book published, and deal with the fallout of that. See how mad he was about it or whatever, just to see how he would feel about it. Being it that once it does go live, once it is out there in the space, reporters and all sorts of people are going to show up at his door. And I was going to wait until then to talk to him again, but I ended up calling him and telling him that all the things that work about me, I got from him. I had a similar conversation with my mother when I was in my latter 20s, but I wasn't willing to have the same kind of conversation with my father, because I had way more grudges against that man than I could stand in the space of wanting him to know how much he meant to me, and the things that worked about him and that I believed about him that were positive things. But I did so this weekend. I talked to my brother for a long time. I was supposed to be doing some other stuff, but I ended up having hour and a half conversation with my brother to clear that space and to let him know some things that I thought about him the day he was born, and how silly I felt that as an adult in my 30s that I felt that way about a baby. Okay, let me just be authentic and cough it up. When he was born, I knew he would get everything that I never got as a child. A little confused transgender boy. I knew my brother would get all of that from my father when I had wanted that all of my childhood, all of my life. Be nice to have now, but I'm not hung up on it anymore. I'm not expecting that. My dad is perfect the way that he is. There's nothing wrong with him, and there's nothing wrong with me. Are there things missing? Sure, but what life is full of missings. Does that mean we get to walk around with a big ass chip on our shoulder all of our life? Sure, we can do that, but it's gonna rob us of a lot of things, including peace. and this is going to rob us of a lot of things if we stand in that place of having a chip on our shoulders about everything we didn't get. When I got enough, I got plenty. I got more than enough. I've gotten more than enough, and I made sure certain things happened in my life that I could kind of ignore the background noise that was going on that I didn't know was going on. All the stories I made and all of that stuff. There was one other thing I was going to say before I stop this vlog, but kind of fell out in trying to be authentic with y'all and let you know that, you know what, nobody's freaking perfect. And I was using perfection like hey, I've been a perfectionist all of my life. And oh, I finally remembered what it was. I have said on more than one occasion, and I have said it to people in person, over the phone, in vlogs, in writing, anywhere and everywhere I could see it, to do it and say it, was that I don't give a flying fuck what people think of me. Oh, yeah, I do. Anybody that ever says that, to the degree that they say that, and how often they say that, means the exact opposite of what they're saying. See, I thought if I said that enough times, it would protect me from letting you close to me. Letting you see my vulnerabilities. Letting you see how much I really do care. Because I also have this fear. And those fears will never go away, but I can work with them in a different way now. But I have this fear that if I let you know I care, you can take that away from me. Somehow, some way, you'll manage to make me eat my words of being a very caring human being who stands for humanity and for the healing of the planet. That is the possibility that I personally have. My contribution to Earth, to this world, is to stand in that possibility and make things happen from that possibility, out of that possibility. That no matter what happens, that I continue to stand for that. At the VA, in society, as a transgender man, in all the ways that of my life, that I stand for this outside of myself, that I stand for all of these things for humanity, not just for me. And that's kind of how I'm really kind of wired, even though I fight against that. I would rather it be true that I actually didn't give a fuck. But it's not true. It's just not the truth. I care deeply. Anybody who's ever known me personally knows how deeply I care. I just have a lot of bravado that I throw up there to, you know, convince myself that I don't care. When I do, I care so deeply that it moves me. It jerks my chain when I see injustices, oppression, phobias. It does. It jerks my chain. And that doesn't mean, you know, if you come at me and you come for me in those ways, I won't make you sorry that you did that. Because I probably will. But I still don't have to hide anymore from the fact that I am a very, very caring human being. And anybody who's listening closely and sees the series of vlogs that I've made will see that I do care. And that's why I scream so loud. Anyway, I made another very long video, but oh well, people's attention spans are what they are around the internet. There's a reason for that, you know, of the entire system to shorten people's attention span to the span of a flea. Can't stick with nothing, can't stand with nothing for very long. So I'll just have to hope that people will see this vlog for its entirety, and know that I haven't even told you every single breakthrough that happened this weekend. Those were just the biggest ones. I even invited my therapist to this event last night. I haven't gone online to see if she actually read the message, but I'll be seeing her to complete our therapeutic relationship tomorrow. Well, today now. And then the next thing will come. But I am standing in the possibility of us sorting out this mess of a world until my last breath. That's where I stand. And I'm going to be having individual conversations with some of you watching this video about where I stand for you personally. Especially the ones that know about my life and I know about theirs. And then I'll let them know what I'm standing for them doing about it. Anyway, everybody have a blessed rest of the week. And you'll keep hearing from me. I'll keep making vlogs. I'll just be making them from a different place inside. So, namaste. Peace be unto you. Pollinator out.